We are live here on Plus One EXP's Roll for Content channel. My name is Tony Vicinda. I am Chief Alchemist here at Plus One EXP, which is a weird little brand that multi-classes in tabletop game design, beard, and skincare alchemy in the Bardic College of Content Creation. Our hope and desire here at Plus One is to help amazing designers find great players who love their games, and amazing players find great designers whose games they can love. We do that in a lot of different ways, but this year, once a month, I'm sitting down with my good friend Aaron King and a special guest to talk about life in design, one move at a time, with a focus on what are the moves that are challenging us and how do their work and their life kind of come together in the design work they're doing. Today we've got someone who I have interacted with online on social media a lot over the last 5 years, just back and forth in little bits. But this was our first time getting to actually sit down and have a conversation. John, super excited to have you on the show. For folks who don't know who you are or may not be familiar with your work, why don't you tell them who you are and what you do?
Sure. First, it's great to be here. It has been kind of orbiting around for a while, so I'm glad it's happening now. This is great. I'm John Harper. I'm a illustrator and a tabletop game designer in Seattle, and I've been doing it for a long time now, 30, 40 some years now. And you might know me from games like Lady Blackbird, Blaze in the Dark, Agon, Danger Patrol, the fourth edition of Talislanta back in 2000. uh, probably Blaze in the Dark is what I'm most known for. I think we'll be talking about that for sure today.
Yeah. Like I said, super excited to have you on. And I just the thing I want to throw out is I think one of our first interactions when we were just getting started, and we were doing this like little micro grant thing for some creators, and you were like, hey, like would love to help support that. And it was really just very immediately clear in our first interaction, like you're somebody who is very generous with the community, with your time. It's always great to see you pop up and chat here. You're always asking interesting questions. And it's really easy, I think, for lots of times people to have like this big vision of designers as somebody who like, oh, we can't interact with her. Oh, they're over here. You're somebody who's one of the most in a space of very grounded people. A lot of the time, you're one of the most grounded people that I've watched, and it's super excited to just be able to dive a little bit more into how that's driven the design that you do, and what that's looked like kind of in your life also too. But before that, Aaron, how are you doing also?
I'm good. I'm happy to be here. I also co-host an RPG book club podcast called RTFM, and one of our most contentious episodes was about Blades in the Dark. So I'm here to quash the beef and make peace. My
Wouldn't we need Max here
my
to do
lovable co-host Max Lander, professional hater Max Lander, definitely went off on that episode, and so I'm building bridges today. I'm here to build bridges. Big fan of John's work, so.
That's right. Because
I listened to that until I couldn't anymore. But I
Oh,
listened
no, I'm
to I listened
so
to some of
sorry.
it.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
well, and I think that's actually like not a bad place to dive in. Let's say horrible things about John's work. No, I think you, and I was telling Aaron this before you got on. One of my favorite things about your work is I feel like you're always actively pushing designs conversations forward in some very specific and tangible ways. Like they're highly specific, and they are always really interesting to me. Even as I was reading through Aegon today, because I haven't played it yet, and I knew we were going to talk about it, so I wanted to give it another reread. And there's just so many good things in there. And anytime I hear somebody playing Blades in the Dark, and then I think about, okay, what are the times I've heard John talk about Blades in the Dark or describe the modes of play that you're trying to get people to engage in, and it feels like people are always not necessarily even misunderstanding, but like you are designing so many great things that really drive play forward. And I feel like you were so ahead of the curve in some of them that people oftentimes aren't picking up what you're putting down. Which is not to say that's the case with Max, but it's something I kind of see regularly. And it's because I feel like you really were challenging the trad play style and mindset in ways that a lot of other people weren't with some of your early designs. And so like I'm super excited to kind of explore some of that space also too. And I jumped in that direction, and I really didn't have a question other than more so much as an observation. But is that something you have kind of sensed as you're doing stuff? Like Aaron, I know had brought up the rhythm and the roll pieces and some of the other elements. I feel like you're always very clear about what you're encouraging people to do, and then I watch people just not do it.
I mean, that's the curse of being a game designer in general. It's worse for video game people having to watch someone try to figure out their puzzle or whatever. But um, I've experienced a little bit of that. It's much worse, but that's how it goes with all games design. You do your best to sort of take what's in your head and what happened at your playtest tables and package it up, and so it unpacks and at another table with another group of people with different brains, and somehow resembles what you had intended to do. And that's always really fraught. And generally, I find like it comes down to, in a lot of cases, like the person's motivation. If whatever about the game that grabbed them like is really strong, whether it's just vibes or like the look of it or the feel or the touchstones or a mechanic or whatever, they can be really motivated to stick with it through rough patches, or maybe reconsider like maybe this isn't the way it's supposed to be. Maybe we should check back in and figure that out and muddle through, or it just like fits like a glove immediately and it's all good. Um, but to me, it seems like over the last generation or two of gamers, it seems like that level of patience or like sticking to it or figuring it out is has diminished to some degree.
Mhm.
That there's kind of this like, it's not for me, or like this is dumb, let's play something else. And which is totally fine because we have like way more games now for people to play that are gonna suit their needs better potentially. Um, but it is that middle space where I get frustrated sometimes too, where I'm watching an AP or something and I'm like, I know you want to enjoy this, I know you're into it, you just didn't really pay very close attention to the instructions here, and this misstep is making things not so fun, and you keep doing it and you're like, why I'm mad. I get that, but I remember when we were kids, like seeing something as like impenetrable as the DMG second edition AD&D book, like you had to be really motivated and think wizards and dragons were really cool to sit down with that thing and like try to parse what was between those covers. Um,
But
and
the
things have
point you
gotten a
made
lot easier, but
about being fewer things as well. Like I bought the AD&D Second Edition Player's Handbook from Walden Books or whatever with my allowance, and like that was my money for the month.
yeah,
And I didn't have the internet at the time, and there was this sort of conjuration effect in reading it that I was like imagining a future with it. Whereas now, like you said, maybe if I had started it today, it's like, well, but I have this video game I could play, or this show I could watch, or these
yeah.
30 other games on my shelves. And so, a true wealth that is also very distracting.
Well, I think too, the thing you were maybe touching on, Tony, is this something I try to do, and other designers in my space try to do, is kind of respect the people that are playing,
Mhm.
like respect their time, and interest levels. So you do want to try to learn all the hard lessons, and in your own playtesting, sand off as many rough edges as you can, um, and try to convey that stuff maybe a little more directly. Agon, especially, we
Mhm.
wrote with a particular person in mind, um, that had never run an RPG and really wanted to. Um, and she ended up doing that she watched an episode of Critical Role and then got fifth edition and then ran the game like a day later. Um, just by picking it up by watching them do. She's like, I can figure this out. It's not a big deal. And she was a playtester on Agon extensively. And so it was always this conversation like, okay, like we're going to try to package up these things that you did when you did that you develop your own way of like absorbing and learning this. Can we package this like how to be a GM down into 6 pages in a
Mhm.
book? And can we package a pitch like in the book so that you can like send it to your players and be like, this is what we're going to be doing tonight, and all of those little things that you end up just sort of punting sometimes to the group or the GM, like, figure it out. It's your problem. Um, that's definitely on my mind a lot when I'm making games, is try to take the hit during development
Mhm.
and not put it on the group. But it's not perfect. There's always going to be those people that are like, this sucks. It doesn't make any sense. I hate it. Which is that's fine. That's just how it goes.
No, like I said, and for me, like even as you're talking about respecting time, I think for me one of the things that first stood out, like I played Blades in the Dark at our home table. That table had basically all had very very low role playing skills, or they'd played trad games, and then we had done about 10 sessions of Dungeon World together, right? So they had at least some PBTA framework and some understanding of some of the different writers' rooms and conversational concepts as we went into it. And even then, it was really hard to push into the speed that I think the game that Blades operates best at, right? Like the
Hmm.
desire to say, "Hey, we want to stretch things out. Oh, we're doing a heist," and just not planning getting into it. And then I heard you running it, and I was like, "Wow, this is so fast! Like this is multiple heists a session. Like this is moving, and it's getting into what is great about the game significantly faster as characters start breaking, and you're introducing new people. You're doing the downtime activities. You're doing all the things that makes Blades really great. That aren't just well, we're out on a heist and doing that heist, which is also wonderful." And it brings kind of the fuller element, and we just never even got to that speed, even enjoying it, which means instead of it taking a session for or two for all those things to gel, you're 4 or 5 or 6 sessions in before the really great things about Blades start to emerge. That speed of play, that respect for people's times, I think is the hardest thing for a lot of people to pick up about Blades and a lot of your other design as they step into it.
Yeah, it is a theme, I guess. Like Lady Blackbird is like a self-contained thing. It has preaching characters and a preaching situation and a start opening scene and this momentum to it. Blades kind of has that in the starting situation in the back. The idea trying to be like, yeah, I've told you this several times through the course of the book, but now like here's kind of a worked example. Like, trust me, try to do this. And Agon too. Like all the islands start with a set piece that's immediate. Like you instantly get grabbed by the giant rainbow shrimp monster, and what do you do? And I've seen people run Agon where they read it and they go, oh, okay, I'm supposed to start in the middle of the action here. This we're at a new island. There's no past behind us. We find out who the characters are by what they do on screen. Great, and then they spend 2 hours on the ship sailing, and like let's all introduce ourselves. What are you doing on deck right now? And like, what do you think of the captain? And I'm like, what captain? Where? What? There's no captain. What are you talking
I'm
about?
jumping in the ocean at that point.
And that's just it's like that's comfortable for them, and that's how they play every game, and they're just used to it. And they're having a great time doing that. And when they get to the big shrimp fight, that's fun too, and it's great.
Can
Um,
I ask? I fully subscribe to this theory. I love starting in the middle of the action. I love like reducing or collapsing rolls. So to preach to the choir, like what do you think is like the benefit of speeding play up and the benefit of collapsing rolls into more dramatic or spotlighted moments?
I think um, I have had a lot of experiences of RPGs being very slow.
Yes.
Um, Not often like kind of fast paced, usually just very slow or like super punchy and short. Occasionally at a con or something, someone will do something really punchy. Um, so what I'm doing when I try to write those kind of rules is I'm not even really trying to make you go fast, trying to make you go faster and maybe like get a little out of the mire there and all the setup and slog and what are we doing tonight and what's the point of our group and that kind of stuff. And to be fair to like the traditional games that suffer sometimes from planning meeting syndrome, um, a lot of that's solved by modules. Like good module writing can
Mhm.
really make a huge difference there. If you're running good modules, that's gonna suffice for having a snappy opening sequence and an intriguing hook for your case or mission or whatever. But so many people, kind of in the modern era, even if they're playing more traditional games, seems like except for the OSR community, which is a little different, but a lot of the 5e types that I encounter tend to just run off the cuff and do their own things, and um, that doesn't mean they're just automatically good at writing adventures or writing hooks or creating opening sequences that are engaging and fast, and so it does get a little bogged down. Um, and if I'm constantly in the text and in my own APs and stuff like that, just kicking like no, even faster than that, even faster than that, maybe it can like get up to like medium.
Right, you're trying to swing the
Um,
Mhm.
pendulum. You're not trying to bring. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah, and because you can't, it's possible to go too fast. I've seen that with Blades too, where people don't sometimes let their characters have those scenes where they really do need to have the characters just talk to each other and like have a moment in about their beliefs or feelings or whatever, and they're like next score, which is that's fine too, but um, finding that level I think will hopefully get you into that like medium speed um, practice. But you know, the game I ran right before we started developing Blades was Stars Without Number for like 2 year campaign, um, and it was really fun. Everyone had 3 characters to start because it's pretty deadly, and um, we had a really fun time playing it. But every session or so, 2 or 3, the group would be like, "What are we doing? Are we space pirates? Are we long haul truckers? Are we bounty hunters? Like, what are we doing? What's the point of our crew? Why are we together?" So that started to get answered in Blades, and then they became assassins, and we had a 2 session planning meeting about an assassination that they were going to try to do. Um, which was really fun. Everyone had a great time thinking about this. His bodyguard's a psychic, and they're gonna know, and you know, that was all fun to do. But it took 6 hours, 7 hours. Um, so yeah, it the other part of that equation I think is like that already exists. If you want to play in that mode, you have tons of options and tons of books and games and stuff to play with. If I want to do something else, I feel like I gotta package it up and figure out a way to convey that. So it's different, and um, it you can tell that it's different just by the structure of it and the systems and the way it's conveyed
Yeah.
to push in that direction.
Like I said, it's always been, I think, for me, one of the most interesting things because you are somebody who like you have such a deliberative mode in my mind. Like you always seem to be somebody who's operating largely with intention. Like you're not somebody who is frenetic and like constantly going fast. There is this like, hey, like you have a like a great rate of speech. I talk way too fast. And I watch this very like this strong intentionality around it, and so it almost always seems juxtaposed. But I think it is one of those things that like it seems like there's an interest in finding out, like you had said, just like how much is that right amount to pull people forward. What is the intentional tool we're giving people in order for them to be able to achieve that, not just, oh well, like dice pool systems move faster, or oh well, like if we kind of just give them this sheet, like there's multiple layers of choices that are flowing out from all of those things in play. It's not just oriented towards the speed. And is that something that you kind of see like outside of design? Like, are you the kind of person who is continually kind of thinking through, like, oh, like how different orders of things hit each other, or is that something you just kind of learned over time?
Yeah, I think I do generally have that quality just to my personality and my normal life. I can tend to be an optimizer, um, by playing Satisfactory or something like that. Like, that can be really enjoyable for me to like, oh, my production chain can be a little more efficient. Um, but I don't like get really, really into it. I think I found a place of holding on lightly generally, but caring about that. But or like when we're doing our charcuterie board because we're gonna watch Haunted City, it's Wednesday. Like where do you put stuff so that you're not knocking over this thing when you're reaching for this thing? And like that's just part of it being a layout designer maybe or something. But there is this constant kind of I don't know deliberation and intentionality. I try to have that um, to be present and like really paying attention in the moment. And um, I maybe I try to convey that in the games too. But
Well, you also talked about working in food service. We were talking about that before we started recording, and to me, that
mhm.
informs. I did it for probably 5 years at one time and 2 years in a different time, and I'm one of those people that's like everyone should do it
Yeah,
for 6 months
yeah,
because it does teach this kind of like flow and awareness, physical awareness, and like not emotional control necessarily, but like I can be so pissed off at this table and I need to go ask the kitchen something, and that emotion needs to stay out there, not come over here, but also like what I'm carrying out and when I'm carrying it out. It is just a funny way of like how do we organize our lives and the spaces around us and what drives that. And I think I love the fast moving sessions as well. And now I'm like, is it because I'm a waiter and I want that high from like a great Saturday night again
Yeah.
or something? But
I was a short order cook at a diner, and having that station set up, where you just everything is there, all
yes,
the mise en place is done,
feels so
all your
good.
tools are in the right place. You know exactly where to reach for stuff, and though you can do those 6 minute tickets just because it's set up for success. You're like you've created a structure so that each ticket isn't a new problem to solve in a novel way. You're just like, I got it. This is how I want it. And the next guy comes in behind me and is like, I can't believe you have these things together, and they're switching stuff around, because that's their way of doing it. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, I agree. I think working in food service is highly recommended to everyone
Yeah.
as an experience.
As somebody who manages coffee shops, there's like when I'm onboarding people, when I'm doing training, like for new staff, I'm like, hey, here's the end result we're looking for, right? Like here is the way I'm going to train you how to do it. If you have something that gets to the same end result, like and isn't sacrificing safety or like other things, like
Yeah,
that's fine, but you should be able to explain it to me when I ask you why you're doing it that way. And the same thing, like I will tell you why I'm doing it that way. There are people who put like the steaming pitchers behind them at one of our shops because they're like, I don't like knocking them over. And I'm like, move them to the side here. The concept of taking 2 extra steps every single time I need to steam like a latte is to me like
yeah,
I'm wasting so much time over the course of a day by turning around
yeah,
and doing
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Or today we're packing out 10,000 stovetop orders at the moment. It's only 9,000, but the somebody was like, "Oh, well, yeah, we figured out how to fit 18 more like boxes in one of the bigger things we have to take out to the docks for outbound." They're like, "But I mean, like, what is that over the life of this entire thing we have to fulfill?" I was like, "Oh, I mean, you're reducing the amount of of large boxes we have to take out by 20%. So it's actually pretty great." They're like, "What?" And I'm like, "Well, we would normally have to fill that box up 100 times, but if we can fit 18 more in there, we'll only have to do 80 of them." And they're like, I can't believe you did that. Also, you're making my brain hurt by just like because all of a sudden the amount of times we were gonna have to do it hit them, and it was
Yeah,
like, yeah, that
yeah.
18 doesn't matter by itself too much, but over the course of the next 3 weeks of us doing this, it's gonna make things go way faster. And so,
Totally. Yep.
You
That's
got
it
to get
exactly.
John's satisfactory experience in there.
yeah, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
gonna bring John Harper to, to tell you how to do this better and make sure it's satisfying for everybody. And so, um, awesome, Aaron. What do you got?
I mean, I do. I think if John wanted to quickly describe, I am a huge fan of this video, Blades in the Dark, game rhythm, and calling for rolls. It's a really short video. It's on YouTube. If you want to look it up, you could pause us and come back if you wanted to. But if John, you wanted to give a summary of that, I think it's just uh, a great view of, like you said, speeding games up, and then we can segue into like Aegon's single roll resolution and stuff. But yeah, what is it, and what do you like about it? What do you think it brings to a game? Was John frozen?
If not, this is incredibly impressive.
Just staring me down.
John is going to destroy us all.
Excuse me. Okay,
Oh, we're
officially
all over the
lost.
place.
Tony, what's the fastest paced game you've ever played?
That I've ever played besides besides Blades in the
It
Dark.
could be Blades, but
Um,
I don't know.
I mean, I don't think we did it right, so I don't think it is. You know what game? A game that I love that's fast. I was about to start moving this around, but I'm not going to do it. We're just going to be weird for right now. Lumen systems, I think, are
Oh
tremendously
yeah.
fast, and I think for some similar reasons, um, the dice pool system I think helps tremendously. The mental handholds if it's a looter shooter, so people kind of understand some of the tropes you're going into, and for a lot of them, how tropified they actually are, like around a certain video game. Then gives people a lot of really great mental handholds. The mission structure is really great, and the fact that if like you can be as like you can go as hard as you want to in any of those games, and they're all power fantasies. So generally speaking, you're designed to scale out and do really well. And so we had a blast when Lumen was in its heyday, having Spencer and other folks on to play games. I think we historically were the only people who have ever played Frame on stream, though that may have shifted. Uh,
Checking the John Harper status.
and hopefully everything's okay. Um, but yeah, what about you? What's the one of the fastest games you've ever played?
Oh, I can only think of slow games because lately I only run games. A friend of mine invited me kindly to play in a game, and it was fun, but I never wanted to make a perception roll ever again. And so a session would be like we're in a mine, and there's 3 tunnels, and then there's 2 tunnels, and then there's a final tunnel, and we would spend 3 hours picking which tunnel and rolling perception and rolling stealth, and then we would reach one monster and it'd be too late to fight, and it'd be like to be continued.
Yeah.
And so I'm coming at it from the hater angle, from the paranoid versus the reparative angle, and I only want fast
John's
games
typing
now.
something. He's alive, or whoever's killed him has taken over the keyboard. One of the two. Uh,
Oh no, internet restarted. All right.
No rush. This is the real deal. This is how you know we do these things live. John Harper will be back in just one moment,
Yeah.
everybody. Yeah, no, I think perception rolls and information gating are also one of the things that just absolutely bog games down. Like,
Yeah.
it is wild and unreasonable to put as much. I once heard a well-known blogger describing why one of their ideas was great, but then on the third clue they said, and if they've blown the first two, you just have to tell them what it is. I'm just like, well, it doesn't sound like this works then, actually. But I won't say who has a 3 clue based thing. So awesome, John. Welcome back.
Thank you. Yeah, sometimes my internet, just says no. So
That's it. Internet does internet be doing that sometimes.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
were vamping talking about the fastest games we've ever played. Are your own games the fastest games you play, or do you have another game that you move quickly through when you play?
Um, yeah, the games I've played the most, for sure, you get into that rhythm of um, just handling them quickly. Uh, like, but some of them are just simple, like Into the Odd, Bastion Land kind of is like very, very fast. Apocalypse World definitely for me is the game I've run the most, I think, um, and played maybe the most. So that's super fast. Once you get used to the subsystems, the moves, um, I'm telling you this on your show about moves. Uh,
We
It's
always
good to
like
hear
to
from
talk.
people. They hear from us all the time.
I love Apocalypse World. I always want to hear more about it.
Yeah.
So.
yeah, it's there's a feeling like you're kind of playing music together sometimes with
Oh,
that game
wow.
is the vibe that I get because we all kind of know it so well that yeah, we're saying I'm like you're acting under fire, obviously. Yeah, sure, of course. Um, and there's less of that, like, well, should it be this or should it be that? Or and Blades is like that too for groups that play it a bunch and get used to it. The position and effect conversation kind of gets trimmed away. You only really do it when you really need to. Um, you're like, oh, this is obviously risky standard rate. Yeah, 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 yeah. We know what action you're doing. Obviously, we don't need to get into that. So those things can go really fast. But um, for games that have more bits, I guess Stars Without Number 2 would count. It's more like classic AD&D clone kind of territory. So there's lots of there's skills and saving throws and um, psychic powers and damage numbers and ranges and typical stuff. But for me, I those type of games they get really fast and easy too because it's kind of like you just have that little switch where you're like, was this a saving throw or is this a skill check or do you just do it? Um, Boom, boom, boom. We move on. We to be fair, we weren't doing like combat movement and 6 second turns and stuff, but that can sometimes be just horribly slow, regardless of how many times you've done it. um,
Yeah.
it just takes time. But yeah, I would say probably Apocalypse World and Blades, super fast, and Agon. But Agon is like meant for like really short one shots essentially. So
Before we talk a little bit more about Agon, Aaron was, you also were in the perfect pose for I'm thinking about this for a second when the internet dropped.
You're doing this.
Yeah, Aaron had queued up the question about the video that they had shared
oh yeah,
earlier that we dropped in the chat. Also, go watch it now or go watch it later. John's going to talk about similar things either way. Could you kind of give us a quick breakdown of that video, what you're talking about there, and we'll dive into it a little bit.
yeah, that video. Um, it was made for people who play Blades to help them with a shift from maybe playing a different type of game and shifting a mindset shift to play Blades. And everything in the video is in the book, but videos are great. They're a great way to teach things and learn things. So I went through a period where I was like, I'm going to make videos. That's going to be a thing now. So yeah, that one is about the difference in mindset from resolving individual tasks that your character is performing in a sequence of tasks, and thinking more about like resolving a conflict at hand through the mechanism of the game and letting that resolution move you into the next moment, scene, or new conflict or whatever. But instead of a series of tasks to get where you're trying to go, you conceptualize it as one beat, and then resolve that beat with one use of the system.
Mm-hmm.
So in that example, it's like a lurk casing a place and climbing up on a rooftop and looking through windows and trying to find a way into this house that they're robbing. And the video describes, in a certain type of game, you might make a climbing check to climb, and a stealth check to sneak, and a perception roll to look around, and another stealth check to get over there, and then maybe another one when you're cutting the window glass open or you use a special thief skill, and then maybe another climbing check because you're going down your rope, and each one of those gets you closer to the thing you're trying to get, um, and potentially in a perfect world, each one of those has meaningful stakes where, because I have to make 11 rolls to do this, if I'm threatened by something every time I'm making one of those rolls, this is a really perilous thing to do. There's lots of chances for servants to hear me, or a blue coat patrol to pass by, or for there to be an alarm that I trip or whatever. In practice, I don't see that as much. I see kind of we just got to get through these rolls to get to the thing, and failure means sometimes nothing. Sometimes it means you've got to try it a different way. Sometimes it means total failure. So by setting the number of rolls, the GM is essentially saying, like, you can't do this. You're not going to make 11 rolls successfully in a row. So it's not going to work.
Yeah, I think the thing that interested me, or that pulled me in about that particularly, is like if the failure state of each of those rolls is the same, like someone catches you, it's much more interesting to me to set that consequence ahead of time and set it all on one roll. Especially, with the dice pool system, you get the handfuls, you're shaking them, and you know what's going on. You know what's going to happen if you mess up. And
Yeah, and you can describe the threat level there by in terms of the character doing it and their history and experiences and skills. Um, if they are this seasoned burglar, um, it might be a fairly easy roll, or lower stakes roll. Maybe it's just one tick on the alert clock because someone goes, "Did you hear something?" Like, I don't know. That's probably nothing.
must have been the wind.
Must have been the wind. Or versus you get hauled away by the cops. Like that could be the failure state. We just collapse everything down. Like they hear you, they call for the cops, they chase you through the alleyways. You don't lose them. They grab you, they throw you in the back of the paddy wagon, and that can be all resolved. And somewhere in between is probably what you want to be hitting usually. But part of the game design in Blades that kind of helps that happen is the situation the characters are in, and the type of people they are, and the type of threats they're facing in the setting, if you want to call it that, is going to create situations where you are going to do these chunky things because they're experienced, they've done this before. If the stakes are really high, They're going to go for it anyway. They might just pull it out with this lucky roll. And if the stakes are really high, you put something in front of a Blades player that takes 3 actions to navigate, through. They're going to be like, oh no, like this is serious.
That's
We're
enough
out of our
stress to
league.
fill my yeah.
We're in a lot of trouble here. But still, that's just 3 rolls, So changing in the mindset from resolving tasks to resolving whole conflicts. I think for Blades is a really important
Yeah.
mindset to
And
make the
is
game go.
there a line between that and the Aegon kind of single act resolution? Okay.
Hmm. Yeah, Agon it shares a lot of common DNA with Blades and the games that inspired Blades in the Dark. Um, and as we went through it, it's a second edition of the game, pretty significantly different from first edition Agon in a lot of ways. But we built it back from the ground up, more or less, several times. Tore it back down to the floorboards and started over a few times during that process. And Sean would joke sometimes where we would struggle and we'd try to find a solution, and it would finally click in playtesting, and we'd be like, "This is it! Like, yeah, you can burn this character resource that resets between islands, pathos if it gives you a bonus die in this situation, but that's also kind of your injury track. What a cool way of fixing this problem! We could have whole conflict resolution where everyone does 1 roll to resolve it. Yeah, yeah. And he would always be like, I wonder where that came from. Where did we ever think of that? How did we get here?
Never been done before.
But the fun thing to me with Agon, and you can do this in Blades too. It requires some like shifting stuff around a little bit. In Agon, you're like a band of heroes that are all together doing stuff together. So you all roll against the Hydra or whatever it is, before you say what you're doing, and the GM just has like a target number for you, and then that is like your initiative order based on who's rolling highest and lowest, and are you higher than the enemy or lower than the enemy, and then you all say how it goes together, like a writer's room kind of, which is a thing Blades kind of wants to. Starting with the lowest people who are like, oh no, I try to do this, but my bow is swatted aside by one of the Hydra heads, and it bites me and throws me into the sea, and all the way up to the top player who cuts off the final head and saves the day. But that's we're talking about games that go fast. That's another thing that takes players some time to adjust to, and in Blades too sometimes. This idea like, oh, we're just gonna get into it. We're not gonna sit around and describe what we're doing in great detail first. We're gonna like get into the system and use the system, and then paint the picture and kind of like explain what happened. And yeah, there's so many people in our Agon playtest. They would always they would want to go through this. Well, first I run over here, and then I do this, and then because I have the shield, we're like, whoa, no, no, stop. And Blades can get into that too sometimes when you're doing position and effect and things. People can be like, okay, well, but wait a minute. Here's my 11 bullet points about why this is not risky actually, or whatever.
Starting with the action, to me, that like once I moved into that format, it's so hard for me to go back, and it reminds me of like John Wick or something, where any emotional moments are like we're behind a pillar while the guns are still going off, or like Chuck Dixon is a now unfortunately canceled comic writer, but he wrote a bunch of Batman comics, and he was like, if Batman and Robin ever need to have a discussion about their father-son relationship, it should be while they're fighting 20 ninjas. Like they should never be sitting there having this discussion. That discussion should come from the fight and be part of the fight. And I think Blades and Aegon and games descended from those do so well at that kind of stuff.
Yeah. It came up in the RTFM Discord the other day, but we talked about the competency porn of the TV show Burn Notice, as just such a great, like, even when you're watching these characters, even when things are going horribly wrong, like they're voicing over, like, here's how it should work, and here's everything we're doing, and we're executing it the way you could, but also here's a thing that as somebody who's skilled in this thing, can happen horrible that is horrible, and then that horrible thing happens, right?
Yeah.
And they're
I
not.
I think flashbacks are more fun when you move forward without thinking about it too much, without planning or without hedging your bets, and
Yeah.
then you're in trouble, and then you look better because
Mhm.
you're like,
Yes.
they thought they had me cornered, but little did they know.
Yeah.
And like that's just much cooler if you don't just say it before, like you say it in the moment and go surprise.
I mean,
Just
if
yeah.
if somebody who is martially competent is getting attacked by a bunch of people, let them beat up a bunch of those people before they get overwhelmed. Like there's no
Mm-hmm.
reason when you roll when you have a low roll that you can't still show the competency of that character and then have the bad. And I think that subtle framing is such a big leap for a lot of people of like we're just describing what happens at the end of this thing and figuring out
Yeah.
how we got there, not every beat along the way. And it once that mind frame changes, and it's really funny because like in the OSR, like you would just describe them all as little steps, and then you might make a roll, but the goal is not. This is just saying we've made a roll. We do know. Still describe. You can describe all your little steps if you want to, but we know where this is going, and
Mm-hmm.
we know it's going to go wrong at some point in time, or we know why it's going to go great. Just give us the beat by beat of how you're getting there, also too, and it's really freeing once you kind of get into that mind frame.
The part of that comes from like I was saying, lots and lots of apocalypse world and getting into that rhythm. The other half of that is character based stuff, not just playbook moves. That this is part of it for sure, but the way the basic moves interact with your specific character in this specific situation. I'm pretty sure this is in second edition. It might be coming in third. I can't remember, but there's something in there like the battle babe is about to do some badass thing and says what they're doing, and I'm acting under fire, and the MC's like, you're not. No, no, you're. How many of them do you want to kill? Um, Now Marks, he would be acting under fire, but no, no, you got him. What happens? And that mentality, that methodology, um, is one of the reasons why Blades kind of got rid of the basic moves or um, those pre-written structures.
Yeah.
It kind of makes everything that conditional. Like, what is it this time? We can just do a little. We don't have to write a move, but we do need to like focus in on what's happening here, who you are, what you're doing, who the opposition is, what the threat is. And it's okay because we're just going to roll once and resolve it and move on. So we can spend a little time like thinking about it. Does the cutter? Yeah, the consequences aren't harm. It's you beat up this squad of bluecoats out in the street. It's heat. Your heat is what you're risking.
There's
You beat them
blood
all
on
up.
your outfit. You did too well. You're gonna
Yeah,
be spotted. Yeah.
yeah. There's witnesses and stuff. So yeah, make your skirmish roll, but like the real consequences is how much heat you're bringing down on the crew. So let's focus on that, not on can you fight. Uh,
Part of this is the weird parasociality of some actual play spaces that we won't have to name, but we did watch somebody just letting someone not roll a few weeks ago on a very popular actual play break certain parts of the internet who couldn't
yeah,
believe they were just like, oh, your very charismatic character can give a talk that you have given me really strong rational points for why this would be convincing and delivered it well, and we're just going to let it happen because your character is designed to do that. People losing their minds, whereas in Blades would be like, yeah, that's it, all right, cool. Like now you shoot and kill someone because you're good at that. Like it's fine because that's what your character is designed to do, and we want you to be able to do that thing. We want
I
to
ran some D20 Star Wars. A friend of mine we really wanted. He's like, I want this to happen. Make it happen. Uh, so it was like the first one.
Saga system
So
or three
was it
the
called?
3.5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yep. Um, Fortunately, there was an NPC generator online. I wouldn't have run it otherwise. I could just type in like Sith Lord level 9 and be like, here you go. But the guy playing the Jedi, it was Jedi Master and two apprentices, one official apprentice and one he had to keep an eye on because they were going the wrong way. Um, but Chris playing the Jedi Master, he was a Jedi Master. It turned out. So like every time he was in a scene, there's some crime lords having beef on Nar Shaddaa, and we're like, what do you do? And Chris was like, this is what my character says. And he would say this like perfectly wise Jedi master thing that just everyone just goes, oh my god, yeah, that would totally work. That solves the whole problem. Like you just what? And he's like, well, I have like +8 diplomacy. We're like, yeah, you do. You're in real life. You
Yes,
just did it.
we statted you and it worked. So
Yeah.
um, awesome. And let's talk a little bit about the evolution. Like you've mentioned Apocalypse World a couple times. Some of the changes of like eliminating like there are no basic moves and blades. And this is a much talked about thing. I don't know that it comes up much anymore, but it was a conversation, and I'm seeing the conversation happen with some other systems. But Forge in the Dark, the system that powers Blades in the Dark, is identified oftentimes as a PBTA system. You identified as a PBTA system, but to a certain degree, that's a choice that you as a creator made, right? Like no one, Vincent and Meg did not show up at your house and demand that you do that. Tell us a little bit about the evolution from one to the other and how Forged and Blades are in conversation with each other, and kind of like what your thought process was, because this is really, I mean, this Belonging Outside Belonging, Carved from Brendlewood, we're seeing more of them, of kind of branches of PBTA,
Hmm.
but they still all exist within that space, even though they look different than each other in the way that they've evolved. So talk a little bit, I'd love to just hear about your process, how that conversation evolved, and your thoughts on it.
I was active on the Forge when Vincent was, and my friend Clinton, who I randomly met in Seattle at a game store, said, "Hey, I co-started this website about role-playing games. You should come check it out. It's called The Forge." And I was like, "Okay." And I had done some game design before that, semi-professionally, professionally, and hadn't been doing much of it. And I went in there and was just my mind was blown. Like it was just like this very active community of critical thinking and feedback and development of games. So I immediately got plugged into that and became a playtester for everybody as fast as I could. So they're all sending me drafts and I'm running through my group. I'm like, I come in, to the game room, imagine like sweeping everything off the desk, like this is what we're doing now. And they're like, what is this? What is Dogs in the Vineyard? Like, shut up. This is what we're doing. And I had a very cool game group that every 3 sessions or so, like, what do you got now? Oh, I got the Shadow of Yesterday. What's that? Shut up. We're playing it. Um, and during that process of collaboration and feedback back and forth, testing ideas, there came a day when Vincent sent me the Brainer playbook, and was like, "Hey, check this out." And I was just blew my mind. I was like, as soon as I opened it, and it said, "When you open your brain to the world's psychic maelstrom, roll blah blah blah, roll this." And I was just like, "What? This is amazing! What a way to convey systems. When you do this, roll this stat, and then on a 10 plus and on a 7 to 9 a 6 plus." I was just like, "What the hell?" Like, first of all, this is the reaction roll from D&D.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I get it, but how did you get there? How did you package this? It just totally blew my mind. So I immediately started writing some PBTA inspired stuff. I wrote Ghost Echo um, that week, I think, when I got the Brainer playbook, and it uses some other kind
I
dice
was gonna say,
slash
yeah.
Siren
I think
stuff,
Meg
which
mentioned that when we were talking about
Yeah.
Cyron.
yeah, other kind dice. It was just something on Vincent's blog, which if you're a tabletop designer, go read all of it. It's all indexed by topic. It's amazing. Um, he was going to publish a fairy game back then using other kind dice, where you roll a pool of dice and then you assign the results to different outcomes. Um, and I just thought it was super cool. Everyone really enjoyed it. Great for like off the cuff gaming because you didn't need stats and character sheets necessarily. You could just be like, well, yeah, you're trying to talk the sheriff into moving the land baron off the mine or whatever. Like, no, so this is one problem and this is another problem. Roll your dice and assign them. Cool stuff. But Apocalypse World just took that kind of idea and it grew from there. And then Meg used that system for Cyrun when she did the new version of Cyrun. Um, and so I just was in it, like in the Apocalypse World design community, hacking stuff. I made a bunch of Apocalypse World hack games that were just played by my group or people on the Forge and stuff. um, and it never got out of my head. Uh, and when we were developing Blades initially, it, you're familiar with Poisoned, Vincent's game Poisoned.
Hmm.
It's
No.
about pirates. Incredible game, little pamphlet. Actually, I have it right here. Let me grab it. Um, Poisoned. It's this little pamphlet. Um, it's incredible. Oh no, my old cards are falling out of it. Uh, uh, really cool game, and it also has some bones of Apocalypse World in it. Um, uh, Making moves and calling them. You're are you going into a fight? Are you enduring duress? Or categorizing like what you're doing, which determines what you're rolling, um, and it treats a crew. You have a crew of characters and a ship, and you do crew actions and naval actions. And I was like, well, yeah, like this is Blaze in the Dark. We've got crews, we've got scoundrels, we've got theft, not at sea, but Um, so it was heading towards being a poison tack for a little while, um, and then I helped get Dungeon World over the finish line when they were wrapping up that project. Uh, and that got me back into like, nah, it should just be a straight up PBTA like hack. That would be a perfect fit for Blades. Um, and I had just posted the D6 system that we had been messing with on G Plus, and I was headed in that direction. And Blades would be a great PBTA, straight up Apocalypse World hack. It would work great. And Jason Morningstar was like, "You're a fool. Do not do that. That's crazy. Make your own system. You're already getting there. You're going to find something there. There's something to discover if you just keep going. Don't stop." Uh, so that's where it diverged. And like I said, we started to get so much experience with Apocalypse World. We're like, well, what if we just start shaving these moves away and just kind of have the group be the generator of those things, and they're to their own taste and their own genre leanings and their own character vision, um, and let that be the thing that there's like one system to resolve stuff, but all the details are up to us, the people in the moment right now. We don't have to write something to suit anyone else anywhere else. We can just do it for us here. Um, and yeah, then 2 years later, it was ready to come
Ready
out.
to
But
go.
that's
It's
kind of how it came together and then diverged. And I decided not to put PBTA the logo on the book because by that point it had become synonymous with 2d6 plus stat rolls and stuff like that. And also I was playing Murderous Ghosts, which is a PBTA game that does not resemble Apocalypse World at all. Um, so I was already in that mindset, like, yeah, this is a family tree of stuff here, and I'll put it on the inside of the book, but not on the outside. People are gonna get the wrong um, impression from the outside. So it's on the tree. It's closer than some people would think, but from a marketing point of view, I just talk about it. I don't like market the game
Yeah,
as
yeah.
like
Well,
PBTA.
like I said, for me, one of the interesting things that's come up is, and I think I even experienced this early on while looking at Forza in the Dark, like an interior resistance to like this feels like I see how these things are similar, but they feel different, right? And it's not even a game that like I was like I enjoy playing this, like I didn't have any more attachment to Blades than that, and I still feel this like weird interior resistance as somebody who's discovering these things separately from each other. People don't know the conversations and the connections. Like they don't always see those through lines.
Yeah,
But I'm also watching it happen in a lot of design communities right now. I also regularly, as somebody who gets submitted manuscripts for new indie RPGs, somebody will submit me something that's so very obviously PBTA, or if it's not because it's not in conversation with, like they weren't aware of it, it's doing the exact same thing. Keegan, one of our owners, Fanta, is their like they didn't know PBTA existed when they created a game called Fanta that has some very similar things and some very different things, right? Like it's a thing that people will come to on their own, but
hmm
it's also when people pitch them to me, I was like, well, we need to cite PBTA, like Apocalypse World as a source in this, or like no, it's totally distinctive and I created it on my own, and I don't want to do that. I'm like, it'll be weird if you like you're doing so much that's the same. It would be weird if you don't. Even
yeah,
if you
yeah,
even if it was a totally unique arrival at that, which I can believe for a ton of people, like that they got there largely on their own,
Yeah.
it's not worth ignoring the fact that the same thing exists elsewhere. But I think you are in a kind of distinctive point to maybe provide some wisdom and insight to people who maybe struggle with how, because a lot of people just think about it from a marketing, or it's about, oh well, like I want this to feel like it's my own thing, right?
Mm.
Um, can you talk through like maybe like insights you have uh into what the good or the challenges are around that? Like you mentioned not doing marketing and things like that, but I am curious about advice you might have for people who find themselves stuck maybe around system nomenclature and why it matters or doesn't.
Yeah. I
Tony,
think
did you bring us to System Matters?
I fully avoided it. This is system nomenclature. It's entirely different.
Okay.
I'm not a fan of like taxonomy as a pursuit that designers or players really should care much about, because you can always, it's, it's like, is this really metal? Is it heavy metal? Is it, there's always going to be like an infinite conversation of finally parsing everything, and is it really PBTA? Is it really Forged in the Dark? Blah blah blah. I don't like that stuff. I think it, from a marketing perspective, like I said, if you want to put that label on your book, I think Vincent and Meg are like, go ahead, that's fine.
Yeah.
Um, don't be a Nazi, but it's fine. And to me, it's more like showing the relationships. So in the book, the inspirations and the touchstones and the points of connection there, I want to delineate as many of those as I can, even if it's just a sentence or something, to show that web of connections and show that we're in this conversation as a community of people making stuff, and it's not, there's no like great auteur thing going on here. It's everyone absorbing each other's stuff, and it might be percolating in the back of your brain for 10 years and you don't even really remember. um, and that happened with Blades. Like everybody said like, oh, it's Lies of Locke the Melora, and I was like, I haven't read that, and they're like, really, you haven't read that? I still haven't read it. But I put it in there because it was like, well, I have to acknowledge this work,
Mhm.
and the author was super kind and like reached out to me during the Kickstarter and was like, this is cool, and I was like, oh great, I should read your book probably. um, but that's what matters to me really, is that connection of creators and the way we're supporting each other, whether it's distant stuff that we'll never know about, or whether it's sitting around with Vincent and Megan like chatting face to face and like talking about this stuff. It's all a conversation, and it irks me a little bit when those obvious things are not talked about in somewhere. Not because it's like giving credit is cool, but like it's more about just acknowledging that space, and not trying to give the impression that you just like emerged out of your cave and are like, I did it. Um, so yeah, that's why I want those PBTA. I always say, oh, it's a PBTA game, because it is. It came from that whole thing, um, and it's also other kind, and it's also a bunch of other stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And it's also still its own thing. Like I think this is the like a game is distinctive by I mean, to me, like it's hard because my approach to games is like games are what happens at table.
yeah,
I've written a set of rules and made a toy for you to play with, and when you play with it, that's a game.
yeah,
Like that is very much, but in the broader sense, like I mean, again, Blades is obviously distinctive in its own way, in a way that has fostered even more of those connections, even more of those conversations, other people doing it, and for me, the ability to educate and create more moments of play by letting people know I went and got this thing here. If you loved that thing, if that was the thing that you glommed onto, like I want to clearly give you the ability to go find more of that and pursue that.
hmm,
Whether you're just going to have fun at a table, which is the best thing to be doing, or whether you're going to be insane and try to make your own thing with it. Either way, like picking up different tools and putting them in your toolkit as a game runner and as a game player is one of the best parts about playing new and different games and being able to track those things through and seeing that broader network and seeing those interconnected relationships. I think are those are ways we crystallize those in games by just naming, yeah, here's how it's connected on that family tree. And so uh,
yeah, and it's discovery too. Like I can't think,
Yeah.
and
The music
so many
taxonomy
times.
thing you
Yeah,
mentioned was so real because, like, when I was a teen or whatever, finding a band that I liked and then finding them on a record label compilation or a genre compilation, and then that opening up 12 other bands that I might like that I'd never heard of was so important to me.
So I don't know if you know the deep lore, but once me and my partners we started really getting into Toto, we got a bunch of records, and um,
Famed for the Dune soundtrack, David
Yeah.
Lynch's Dune.
yeah, they like we're listening to Michael Jackson and the Thriller album. The band is Toto. It's like three members of Toto, and Michael McDonald's on stage when he was on Soul Train, and like two of the drummer and the keyboardist are Toto. And um, once you start tracking those connections, it's just amazing. Like we've discovered all these other artists and other eras, and just through one. I mean, probably the most connected band ever, but they're not even really a band. They weren't really a band. They were like a collection of people. Um, but yeah, I love that. I love that discovery, and the finding those paths to other stuff that you're. It opens doors of new types of enjoyment. It's great.
And I think a lot for a while we lived in the golden age of the internet sort of fixing that for us or making it much easier for us. And I think we're seeing that now deprecate and fall apart, and it's less trustworthy and less easy to find that information. And so I think it is still important, and maybe becoming more important again, to leave physical traces of those
Yeah,
connections.
yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, tell people. Art by Recluse also just said it's Toto all the way down, and that is excellent.
It
Um,
is.
well, let's jump into Agon because we've talked about it a whole lot. I got to read it again today, but one of the reasons that I really wanted to hit on it is because I feel like and it's great. It's been great to like hear you unpack a number of things that were happening in Blades, and then talk about like how some of those things carried over. But even the oh well, like we're gonna take away basic moves, and just talk about what's happening in the fiction and let that roll live. And the evolution of that into epithets for me is also really an interesting next step, kind of in that thing of like, well, now there's not a stat list. Like you're going to pick a thing that a number of things that define your character. And those are going to be bespoke because it's a game about Greek mythic heroes, demigods, other things like that. So being able to kind of create this pick list of things that then become what narratively drives your character forward feels like a great next step in that process where it's even more hyper customized. It reading through it again today for the first time in a couple years, it was really kind of tremendous to just like have a lot more clarity on some of the ways that what other games I've read by you or played by you, how those are more crystallized within that. And the best part is like I'd read the game, forgotten about the epithet specifically, and then playing Defy the Gods with Chris Sellers, where they picked up that technique and made it all the PBTA, all the stats in that game are epithets you've created for your character,
Hmm.
was one of the most fun role playing experiences I've had in a long time. And so it was really great to then again just come back to it and see another part of that web. But you've talked about the game for a little bit, but tell me a little. Let's talk a little bit more about the character creation process and the role that kind of epithets play in that, and where you came to that from.
The main driving fact, well, there are two things. We wanted it to resonate um, with people who are into the classic tales and the myths in a way that isn't going to annoy them a lot, and they're like, well, yeah, really, that's how it works. But also, you don't need to know a lot to get into it. So we had our like my partner like content matter expert basically like, is this too far away? Is this recognizable? Is this still something that classics major is going to like be excited about? Like, yeah, yes, no, whatever. Um, so that was part of it. We wanted to keep that flavor and feel uh, present, but not like too heavy. That's why Fast and Furious is one of the main touchstones. Like we want to get you out, or Xena, like we do kind of want to get you out of that headspace that it has to be exactly like the stories, but um, the vibe and the feel of it was a big factor. And then the other part was because it's meant to be one shots generally, fast convention slot game or whatever. Character creation had to be really simple. Uh, with kind of two-ish decisions to make. You're this mythic hero. You're kind of good at everything. What are you really good at? And then what are you known for? What are you called by besides your name? Your name die is like the first die that you always get because of the legend of your name. But then the epithet is like what are you known for? Are you fleet footed? Are you wise? Are you silver tongued? Um, and that we gave people lists ultimately because people get into that mode sometimes. They're like, I have to pick the perfect thing. What's the best choice instead of the most expressive choice. So we provided that list so you can quickly kind of do it. You can change it whenever you want, so there's less pressure there. But that is the only, um, I guess, like fiction first kind of component to the game. Like the game, it's like everyone's the same character class. There's no special abilities. You're all kind of doing the same stuff together. You're distinguished by your deeds um, and the way you portray your character. But the epithet is like the really unique thing um, that is going to matter in the fictional moment. If we are wrestling the Minotaur and I'm silver tongued and I pick up that die for silver tongue to put it in my pool, after we roll and when we start narrating, like we're all looking at your epithet die, like let's hear all about it. Let's hear about your silver tongue with the Minotaur. What did you do? Instead of the like, okay, I want to use my silver tongue die, guys. Let me justify why it makes sense here, and let me tell you about how I'm going to use it. Then roll, then tell you how I use it. Uh, it's like the players toy to play with and be like, no, I'm not going to do it here. That just stretches my own, suspension of disbelief here, and so I'm not going to use it. But then like, oh well, maybe I will though, and you're suiting it to the fiction at hand, and that turned out to be a really powerful thing for like a very simple part of character creation, to distinguish characters that don't have a bunch of ways to be distinguished like most um,
It's also really
RPG
fun to
games.
fail on that silver tongue die when you're wrestling the Minotaur.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Because then, of course, the story tells itself of like, I tried to interrupt this wrestling match with a
Exactly.
speech, and of course, just got my ass whooped immediately. I was telling you, I just played Deathmatch Island,
Mm.
and there are options in there to kind of sub in different sort of skill dice, and it would be fun to burn that resource, sub in that die that's higher, and then just roll so low, and it just makes perfect sense. Like, why would your social stat matter sneaking into this base full of gun turrets? It doesn't. You're done for, buddy.
Yeah, yeah. I love the way Deathmatch Island interprets that system. It's such a perfect fit.
Yeah.
No, none of us saw it coming. Tim is one of those people that, they'll just be quiet for a while and then they go, and like, look at all this stuff I made,
Yeah.
and it's beautiful and perfect and makes total sense. And we were all just like, yes, please. Uh, and it was going to be a supplement for a while, and then we were like, no, this is just standalone game. It should just be its
It
own
works
thing. This is
so well. The
perfect.
maps, the
Yeah.
yeah,
Hmm.
it's I mean, I love Aegon. I've read multiple translations of the Odyssey. I'm one of those freaks, but then I saw Deathmatch Island and I was like, yeah, I'm sold. I'm ready.
It's even more immediate because it is the modern world, maybe. Deathmatch Island secrets. Um, but it's more familiar, and so like, yeah, elementary school bus driver as your thing, bang, that's how, I don't know what that how that's going to come into it, but it's easy to get, it's easy to understand, um,
Yeah,
and it
we
serves that
we
same purpose in the game to like customize, fit your character into the ongoing problem right now, and think about that aspect of them, and like, why is this going to be on screen?
yeah, we played a super fast one shot, so we were rolling for everything, and I got jazz musician, which sucked for a long
Nice.
time. But then it was a one shot, so we like fast forwarded to the final confrontation and everything, and we got to level up. And I just said, "Oh, I'm going to pick a different career. Maybe I've learned something on this island." And I
Hmm.
rolled, and my new career was intelligence operative. And we all immediately realized I didn't learn to be an intelligence operative. I'd always
Always
been
been
one
one.
in
Yeah.
disguise. And again,
Yeah.
just like the tables are so flavorful, the roles give you so much information to deal with automatically. It was just like a top 10 gaming experience.
Yeah, it's so funny. I was just about to say that the tables are great because they have jazz musician and intelligence operative on the list, or like auto mechanic and like hitman or something, you know. So it's all over the place, and I think rolling for that stuff in Deathmatch Island is basically mandatory. It's so fun to do it that way.
Yeah.
So,
No, yeah, I also like when I was going through again, I was like, if I worked in an office, I would love to run Aegon on lunch breaks. I would never want to work in an office, but if I did, like, I
yeah,
was like, this is the perfect like. I mean, and like, it was really funny. My first exposure to Doom, the video game, was because it was what all the guys were playing at my dad's IT office at Linux International. I'm gonna dox him fully. On
yeah,
break, and he was like, "Oh, I'll buy this. I'll buy this for my kid to play," and that was it. But it was just what they all did, like land matches during all the IT guys during lunch, and
hmm
I was like, "Yeah, like Aegon would be like you do character creation, and then you do a battle over a week if you want to. Like you just go step by step. Everybody will remember what happened because you played the day before. If someone's not
yeah,
there, like not a big deal. But like it is like everything is able to be done so fast in that game that like even when I was read like 2 to 3 hours, I was like, yeah, 2 to 3 hours for a full one shot, but like each clash can be such a like great short. We're gonna sit down, we're gonna like reestablish what's happening, figure out what's going on, do a roll, narrate through what's happened, finish our lunches, go back, finish working. Like it's such
yeah.
Sorry,
a
Tony, if there's one thing we've learned here, you're not going to reestablish what's going on.
that's
You are
true.
just going to fucking jump in.
That is true, ideally.
Well, we were talking earlier about how module design is like a big factor in some of those older games, and for Agon, we realized that like we wrote a section about how to create an island, and it's fine. And then I was like, wait, no, we can't do that because this game is supposed to you pick it up and play it. We have to give you the
The islands,
islands.
yeah.
Like 12 is plenty. Most people don't play all 12. Um, and the islands need to be the other part of the game. Like they're they present a series of problems that can be explained quickly, solved with one roll, and lead you to the next problem on the island. And then you do that 3 times, and you're done with the island.
Yeah.
And that it needed that part of the game to like make it really go. We could have left it up to people to just figure that out on their own, but it felt better to just show it and have like these 12 worked examples. Like just follow the line. Isn't it really linear? Is it railroady? No, just play. You'll see how it goes when you play it. The players make all the choices and totally steer the ship.
Yeah, the
So to speak.
consequences from success or failure can so change the entrance from one island to another.
Yeah, and
just
how
based
you
on-
deal with the problem. Like,
Yeah.
do you make friends with the harpies? Do you slaughter them all because they offend the gods? Do you ally with Hera because she says they're under my protection, and now if you've harmed one of them, you harm me, and I my wrath will be eternal. And like, oh no, crap. Yeah, there's a million ways to approach it, but it is just a series of like quick, easy to understand problems. You make an attempt, and that immediately leads you to, well, now that we're under Hera's thumb, I guess rebuilding the temple to Hera that's on this island. Wow, that's convenient. Maybe we should do that. Uh, and that just came from us playing the game a whole lot and figuring out how to make an island that, at the end, towards the end, Sean and I, like, we were running an island in an hour,
Yeah.
just like banging it out. They're so easy to do.
No, like I said, somebody Mince and Rabbits wants to know if you know of anybody using the Paragon system in play by post games.
Oh, no, I haven't heard of that, but
But it feels like it would be really good because if
Yes.
people just have to say the one thing, and then yeah, it feels like it would be really solid for that.
yeah, I mean, like once you get the results, you could almost just like send it in with the number that you got and the description of your action, and everyone would just have everyone's together, and you could like read through them.
Yeah.
And yeah, that would totally work.
Mince and Rabbits, be the play by post you want to see in the world.
Yeah.
Let us know how it goes in the Discord.
Yeah, well, and like you were saying too, the when you fail the role, or when you go into the challenge with a certain idea and you're the worst, um, that that's another place where it gets away from just a series of things the GM is putting in front of you. You are authoring what's happening and why, and players love to narrate their own failures and setbacks
Yeah.
and injuries and
Yeah, our Deathmatch Island GM, Aaron Voigt, who just did AA Voigt on YouTube, just did
yeah,
a
yeah,
video about why are there so many criminals in Duskfall.
yeah,
Yeah, he ran
great
this game
video.
for us, and he was so great at setting up all the threats and potential problems in every situation that when he failed, it was a smorgasbord of like, oh, you mentioned the barbed wire, some of my equipment got fucked up and left up there, and you mentioned these dogs, and I like kick one off, but I'm limping. Like it's so fun to go through this great setup and describe how it just wrecked you, but still
Yeah,
left you able to move forward. And so, and a lot of that stuff he said was in the book, just like in the Islands in Aegon, the Deathmatch Island locations are so perfect for giving you these cascading choices of how you got wrecked.
Um, are you
yeah.
talking about Moriah RPG funding right now on BackerKit at ttrpg.link/Moriah stretch goal writer Aaron Voigt? Is that what
Oh
you're talking
yes,
about?
yes,
Uh,
yeah. Aaron's also on the Council of Aarons with me and Aaron Lim, and
yeah,
so
Nice.
we're all working hard
I'm
to
glad you're good at keeping it pretty locked down. I'm not gonna lie.
right, right. But
Yeah, I'm working on Ride or Die, which is the Fast and Furious, hack of Paragon, um, and having cars has been a factor with this because you always have your car when you blow the roll, you be in that position to be like, do I is this the time when I say my classic Charger just gets demolished? Like, is this the right moment for that? It'd be pretty badass if it was. Yeah, so it's like you always have this other component, um, that's built into your character that you can look at when things go south.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Love it. Mints and Rabbits also wanted to say hi, and that they, John, and that take the chance to let you know that they got into TTRPGs as a hobby thanks to you. I'm sure
Oh,
there's more of
that's
a story there,
great.
Mints. And
I
if you
think
tell
this
us,
is Mint who's creating Protect the Child, which is a Forge in the Dark system that I played at Breakout Con that I
if it
had an awesome
is,
time playing. So
maybe he'll
maybe
tell us.
hi Mint.
Hello.
Also the person running there's a TTRPG for that, which is on Tumblr, and people will submit
Oh,
like
I know that. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, yeah,
So
cool.
maybe this is Mint trying not trying to dox you, but
They
like
have confirmed it is them, so
okay, yes,
they're okay with it.
Oh, wow, that's great to hear.
yeah.
I'm surprised. I would have thought you would have been playing long before Blades, but that's cool.
Yeah, Protect the Child is a really fun Forge in the Dark riff that like takes some big swings and takes some big steps away. Like we were talking about, of like I can kind of see where you're getting this, but it's very much its own thing. A very strong voice. I really
I'm a
appreciate
big
it.
fan of that. Like, I have Slug Blaster. I think I told you. I remembered to put it back on my shelf before, because I love that generation of of
Hmm.
not PBT of Forge in the Dark games that really took bigger swings and paired stuff out and found their own paths and have even become just different. So, like, Wild Sea is like very connected, but it's its own thing too.
So thing, yeah.
Um,
I
love
just
that stuff.
we just got the physical prints, not offset, not PODs of Hold Fast Station that came out of the Stone Cop campaign. We just did a print run of it, and it's I just got they just came in, so I just got to crack into it this afternoon also too for the first time, and read it 3 years ago. Whatever, but I'm excited to revisit it also too. There've been really amazing things that happen that again, and I think a lot of the games that pick up on the speed and those big swings and so much of what you were putting down there in the text that didn't always come out and play. I think those are some of the ones that have always excited me the most when I pick them up, because when you're taking those bigger swings, play is going to move faster as a result of that, because you're not like, oh, let me try to do the little incremental thing, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's huge. Well, we're getting close to the end of our time here. We do have one question that we always ask people, which I did prep you for 3 weeks
Oh, I already forgot, so I'm not prepped
And that's
anymore.
we ask we can vamp a little bit in the meantime if we need to. But it's the big question is one of the things we talk about, and if you have GMing advice for Blades that you want to use to vamp on this also too, or any of your other games also, as we're talking about big swings. Part of what where Show Me Your Move started was Aaron and Mai's conversation and things that we were reflecting on at plus one of like hard moves being the place in PBTA that a lot of people um, really struggle as GMs or don't necessarily know how to implement in a way that really drives the narrative forward. I think Blades takes that so much further forward. It's really great to see the way that those the position and effect drive that even further. But the concept we had Aaron write a little book about hard moves also too, and just kind of encouraging people to take a moment to think about their life right now, everything that's happening in our world, and maybe what is a hard move you want to make in your life this year, something that is irrevocable or something you kind of want to challenge yourself to. I mean, no one's going to beat Meg Baker's original statement on this, which was, "My hard move is compassion."
Yep.
but uh, but yeah, would love to hear. You know, again, if you have thoughts on how people can effectively do that as a GM, but we want to hear a little bit more maybe for John Harper. What is a hard move you want to make in your life this year?
Yeah, I mean that's a tough question. There's a lot of things that come to mind that are um, part of the state of the world that I feel overwhelmed by anyway, and I don't necessarily want to spend time with answering this to like pile onto that stuff necessarily. It's there and it's always on my mind. There's just various things that happen and going on everywhere that is depressing and challenging. I I want to. I guess one way to look at the question would be to say, uh, finding those places of just joy and pure joy, I guess, not not weighed down by anything else or conditional or um, need to be justified or scheduled or um, but I guess it's like and I think in general I do a decent job at this. I try to organize life in such a way that there's room for just like being with my partner and relaxing and listening to records and hanging out and just doing that stuff. Um, but there is sometimes a challenge, I think, of energy level and like I don't. Yeah, I do want to go out and meet with my friends. I'm gonna have a great time, but I don't want to. you know, uh, that malaise or whatever it creeps in, and it's sometimes months before I start to notice it. And um, being with Allison, it makes that a lot easier to deal with because we have a nice schedule to our life. We hang out with our cute cat Mitchell, and um, every evening is a chance to find that feeling again. But I feel like in the broader social space, um, I want to find that again. Like I haven't been running games online. I haven't been playing face to face very much either. Um, and I think this, if it's like a resolution for what's coming up, I feel like that's been on my mind a lot lately. Is yeah, remember how great it was.
Hmm.
Paul and Sage and Shannon every Wednesday for years playing games together and having the ability to just get up, go there, do it, um, and connect and just let it be what it is. I don't know. As a rambling answer,
That
but
was
No, it's
great.
not rambling. It's I I say this every time we do this, but like I live in Minneapolis, and it's been so important for people to like find ways to connect regularly, um, both for like community support and community building and resistance and stuff, but also just go have fun. Like just go meet someone new. Just have a consistent scheduled thing where you're going out and talking to someone again and like reaffirming those relationships is really powerful
yeah,
and like a cornerstone of future community building and resistance, however that looks. So
Um,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, when the streets of Minneapolis are barricaded, mentioned to Aaron, maybe on air, maybe before or after a show. I was like, is it weird that they just look like y'all are also having really great block parties?
Right,
And
we
it's
do.
like, yeah,
That's
I
the
mean,
thing, right? Yeah.
like, and I think it is a thing that like when you're tired at the end of the day and you don't want to do it, right? Like as somebody who rides a weird line between introversion and extroversion, there is sometimes nothing better than making plans and being like, no, I just gonna, and then them getting canceled and me being like, I can stay in tonight. But it's also like I
Yeah.
wanted to do the thing when we made the plan,
Yeah.
and when I go out, like I'm never upset about the fact. Not never upset. I'm usually not upset about the fact that we're out. We went and
Yeah.
set my youngest is graduating from high school this year, and we went to the a bend in a creek and sat on a beach for their graduation party. We had to haul food into the middle of a big public green space. And it was whatever. But then we were there and sitting there, and people were coming through with their dogs and getting in the water, and it was just the sun was beautiful, but it wasn't super hot. We were over. It was just like this beautiful moment of like, and this place is like 8 minutes from our house, and we've like they go there all the time. We've never been
Right.
there,
Right.
and it's
Hmm.
like, why were we not coming here for the last 4 or 5 years multiple times? Like this is beautiful because we get so bogged down. So I think that
Yeah.
like pursuing those moments of pure joy just for the goodness that they are is a huge like hard move that I think a lot of us feel unable to do right now. And so like
Yeah.
I love hearing that. Um, so that's awesome. No, I really appreciate it. We've talked about a whole bunch of things. I do want to make sure, like, is there anything you wanna talk about that's coming up that you're working on? Anything that you're excited about that's on the horizon that you want to share with people?
Yeah, I'm Ride or Die is continuing development. It was off the burners for a while, and now it's back on, and I'm really enjoying that. Taking lessons from other Paragon games like Deathmatch Island and stuff, and bringing that into the system, making it even simpler, maybe, which is kind of crazy to think about, but that's been fun. I'm doing a Breathless game.
I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, RP has this cool horror system, Breathless, and it that had crowdfunding going on, and I wasn't a stretch goal, and I was like, I'll just make myself one and do something for that. And it just turned out to be this really nice connection between like the part of the setting of Blaze in the Dark where you literally can't breathe out in the miasma of the Deathlands. And I was like, that's horror. That's a great horror setting. There's a great horror system here. It happens to be called Breathless, and you need your air tank to survive out there. And what a fun little connection. So I've been building out the lore of the Deathlands and stuff, which is really fun to do. And
Can you
getting that
reveal
game.
one Blades in the Dark lore secret? You have
Uh, y-
like a lore Skurlock secret in your pocket or something.
those are
The
they're
deepest cuts.
they're more fun to.
You're right. Yes.
Well, they're not. They don't exist until they exist in your at your
Yeah.
table. So,
Yeah.
um, but if you read Blade 68, Tim showed some cards a lot through that text. So there's a lot. If you just want to go lore hunting, Blade 68 has a bunch of stuff. Um,
Love it.
and what else? Oh, Dagger Isles. The Blade supplement for the Dagger Isles is in development. Sean and I are banging it out. Pam and her team did like the lion's share of the work, and now Sean and I are like doing the like development, editing, like you know, wrapping it up, getting everything um,
Yeah, I'm so excited to get
polished.
it out there further. I was a huge Dagger Isle fan. Like it was always one of my favorite like my characters were always from somewhere else, and then it was just like now we're here in the city though. Like so I'm so excited to go to get to explore more of the rest of the world.
Me too.
Mm.
It's really cool what they developed, and we're like taking all that stuff and like making it very gameable. You know, like here's this like pressure cooker situation like Blades loves to have, and characters that are fit for that. And we learned through playtesting like there were a bunch of different Daggerau crew types, and everyone was like, "Well, obviously we're just the rebellion against the Empire. Why are there other crew types? That's there's there's just the one thing. We're resistance fighters. That's what we do." So we're like, "Yes, okay, now the game makes way more sense, and everything is just getting honed down, and it's satisfying to blow up an imperial warship and
Okay.
fight colonizers. Who doesn't want to do that? So yeah, it's been like actively fun, even though this part of the process sometimes is kind of a grind.
Mm-hmm.
Every After every meeting with Sean, we're just like, this is great. I'm so excited. This is really fun.
Again, a reason to like connect and check in with those people, because sometimes it's
Yeah,
just like so invigorating.
Yeah.
yeah.
we we have a team we playtest with locally, regularly in person, who we're doing publishing for, and it's evident every time we get to a playtest session that they have reached an impasse and are frustrated by staring at the text and are upset and have
Yep.
different thoughts on things, and then we sit down and we play the game, and like we're like, what are the questions you're asking, so we know going in, so we can make sure the play explores those things, and by the end they're like, oh, this all just makes sense. This is so much fun. This was so FYI, people, playtesting is it's a task, but it's
The
the
play is
best
as
part.
important as the
It's
test.
the testing.
Yeah.
And it's just, it always reinvigorates and kind of brings me back to like, oh, like games are fun. Like,
Yep.
and the more we play them and refine them, the more fun they actually get. And so
Absolutely. Yep.
um,
Well said.
so awesome. Aaron, what do you got going on?
Nothing. No, not nothing. I asked you about X-Men before recording because on July 1st, I'm launching with Caleb Zane Hewitt, the one of the designers of Triangle Agency, a podcast called Nightcrawler is My Boyfriend, where we read
Oh
through
yeah.
all the Claremont era X-Men while designing the perfect X-Men game. So we have 5 episodes recorded and edited. They'll come out every 2 weeks. And so if you like comic books or X-Men or being a mutant freak or live game design, we're having so much fun. I'm super excited
Oh,
for
it's
that.
gonna be so good. I'm so
Me
excited
too.
about it.
Claremont is my era, and man, I've been seeing the teasers of that coming up, and I
Well,
forgot you were.
I'll send you the episodes if you want to come on as a guest. Let me know.
Oh yeah. Oh, that'd be so fun. Yeah.
Excellent.
We'll pencil it in for now.
Yes.
Awesome. We've got some fun stuff coming up, but next week I'm going to be headed to Portland, Oregon for Between Two Cons, hanging out with 340 men and 12 women in the Norris Hall of Portland, Oregon. Doing a lot of things. I've got a dumb thing that I apparently am on the main stage doing called Betwixt Two Piles, which is and have designed the unofficial, official Between Two Karens podcast simulator, and it's called Betwixt Two Piles. And it is a
I'm so curious, but also a little skeeved out by this. So I can't wait to hear con
wait till I
reports
make
about it.
wait till I make my RTFM podcast simulator. This is a new
Oh
thing
no.
where I'm just making games where you play other people's podcasts
Yeah.
and pretend to be them in some way, shape, or form. It's great. You and Max both have strong characterization. It's going to make it real easy.
Okay, good.
But I do have to finish typing that tonight so I can finish layout tonight. So I can get it printed before the con. Also, too, and two of the hosts of the show know what this is, and the other one has no idea, but is very paranoid by all the things that I've been posting about. It's great.
Wow.
But we will have a episode of Now You've Seen It next week, also too on Wednesday night. So come back over for that. And we are right now trying to schedule an AP of Holdfast Station on the channel. We've got Mariah funding right now over on BackerKit, like I mentioned, ttrpg.link/Mariah. This is Kyle Tam's game that asks the question, what will you sacrifice to reach the top? It's an escalating die system that uses basically sacrifices in order to overcome greater and greater obstacles the gods are asking of you in order to bend their will and save your world. So go check that out. J.N. Butler did a brand new cover on it, and it's absolutely gorgeous. But Kyle has had this game out in zine form for a while. This will be the 140-page hardback final version of the game with some great stretch goals. So go check all that out. Also, if you want to support everything we do here, check out rpgzine.club. We've got another one of Kyle's games coming out this month that won Best Setting in this year's Indie Game Designer Groundbreaker Awards. And we've got second edition of Shadow Giant by Lucas Sykehound coming out as part of that. Also, fully remastered, expanded, new art, new layout, absolutely gorgeous, and it's got a cool bookmark that comes with it. And if you order anything in Pride or after Pride, you get one of our cool new bookmarks by Robbie Burns. also too. So all kinds of great things happening here at Plus One as always. John, thank you so much for coming on. Aaron, always great to be with you. Have I ever figured out a thing we say at the end? I don't know. It's been 6 weeks since we did one instead of 4 weeks, so now I've forgotten everything.
I think last time you said get hard.
You heard Aaron. Everybody out there, get hard, and we'll see you next time when we sit down with Avery Alder.
Yes.